I don't know if I thought about where I was going to end up when I started. I have a real love of Texas and our landscape, and that I had as a kid for sure. I mean, I was an outdoorsy kid. Houston was pretty wide open, and even though it is a big city, we were way out on the outskirts, and yeah, it was a lot of running around barefoot, and yeah, I was picking wildflowers and learning their names. Part of what we do is about a sense of place, of knowing where you are and what makes it different from other places in the world. When we started out, people have mow and blow services that come and do the lawns, so we went into the niche of, we know when and how to prune the plants and what to do about pest issues, and we'll pull the weeds, and we know the weeds from the wildflowers. And I did the Master Gardener program, Travis County Master Gardeners, and learned from that. I worked for somebody else for a couple of years, and then I just kind of started with my own clients and learned along the way, and learned everything the hard way. Do it wrong once, you learn how to do it right.
For 10 years, I worked in coffee. I used to be really into running coffee houses, and I thought I was going to have a coffee house. So I got my MBA at Champaign-Urbana, and then I moved here, and I just was burnt out. And I wanted to do something different, completely different. I had no idea what. The day I showed up, Julie had me pruning a Greg sage, which is now my favorite plant ever. And I totally thought I did not get the job because I was taking forever doing this. And so finally she was like, "Move it, we have to get out of here. Here, I'm gonna do it." And she was a whiz with the pruners and just like shaped it so fast. A lot of what I've learned about plants has come from her.
We probably have the most overeducated staff in town. Everybody's really smart, really interesting people.
I got my bachelor's in creative writing.
Art history degree in college and did IT work for years and years and years.
A double BA from UT in history and philosophy, and then I went on to graduate school at UT and took an advanced degree in Asian cultures and languages, focused on South Asian religious history, and I lived in India studying Hindi Urdu, which has served me so well in the landscaping industry.
I remember graduating college and I realized that I had absolutely no real skills.
I was totally miserable just sitting in like a windowless office for like 12 hours a day.
It wasn't as fulfilling as when I found that I could work outside and make a living that way.
So I quit my job, I think it was at a nonprofit at that point, and I backpacked in Southeast Asia for a year. And when I got back, I decided I wanted to work outside.
And so from that point on, I decided to try and become a useful human in my head.
It was sort of a natural transition, I guess, to get into landscaping.
Probably the key thing that everybody shares is they have a really strong work ethic, and people care about the outdoors. They're versatile, they are caring people who want to do a good job and are willing to work hard.
I feel like I've worked with so many really great people at this job thus far. I mean, artists and builders and makers and burners and really, really fun people that are doing this type of work because they want to.
Fertile ground is just such a great asset to me because alongside everyone else, Reed especially has been teaching me about permaculture, which is so helpful in terms of viticulture and everything else. Just understanding soil and plants and seasons and just how everything is intertwined is incredibly impactful.
We're the educated proletariat. We're the first ones with our backs against the walls when everything goes down, because we know how to grow things and we can argue about it.
One of the difficult things is it's gotten so much more expensive for our employees to live here. People were able to live closer in, and now people are spread a little bit farther out. It's even more driving, traffic's worse, and we've had to limit how far we can go because it just takes so long to get anywhere. We've got to focus more on kind of central Austin or Austin proper. We'd work earlier and stop earlier in the summer anyway, just because the heat's so bad, but we started doing that just year round to miss the traffic.
Some of the hard conversations are when you have to actually tell someone that they cannot do the thing that you actually need them to do. And there have been a lot of hard conversations where it's like, this isn't personal, but this is what the job is. To pick up the heavy things over there and move them over there for many hours in a row. And I understand if you can't do it, but what we do need is someone who can do it.
We need people that don't have ego issues with working with women. We have women on the crew, different gender identities and sexualities on the crew too.
They posted the Craigslist ad And that alone like called my attention because it was like, there'll be fears and tears, but there's also queers and beers. And like, just like the intro line to that, I was like, that's great.
As far as, working in a woman-owned company in an extremely male-dominated, fairly toxic at points business, there's lots of spaces that we go to all the time. The dump and the metal yard and the rock yard and like all these places that we go, that having a woman-owned business go into those places and have to challenge those people's notions of how the world actually works. Julie and Alexa both are hardworking, smart, bust-ass women.
You have to really know what you're talking about as a woman in order for people to believe that you know how to build anything, especially if you're small and look younger and a little bit colorful.
People always ask me if my husband's in business with me. No, he's a software guy, works in an office. I can do this by myself.
Fertile Ground kind of is the culture of Austin, a little bit personified.
People get home, they drive home, they pull into their driveway, go into the garage, hang out in the house, and then go in the backyard. So one of the things that I wanted to incorporate was having a little patio area right in the front of the house, so in the evening we can sit out here and drink wine, and we see people walking their dogs and their kids and pushing their strollers. It's a much more community, much more social feeling.
Our bosses and the company as a whole, through all of us working together, are trying to make sure that we can do this job, which has traditionally been looked down on as like a blue-collar, low-class type of existence. We're trying to make it so we can make a living wage and we can live in the city that we all love and that we can continue to do the type of work that we want to do.
I feel like our business model is kind of radical. I mean, we are trying to do things that are more where it benefits everybody and hopefully our community, as well as our employees, as well as providing a good service to the customers. Yeah, we're doing something a little bit radical, trying to make things better.